Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 29th of December 2020. Alright everyone, another big day in Ethereum land, but first, before we jump into the news from the project updates and things like that, I did want to quickly give a shout out to this new thing that has been created by three community members in Ethereum. They basically are community members, I guess, of the Reddit Ethereum community mostly. And what they've produced is this thing called the Haiku book. Now, a bit of backstory here. This book came about because for quite a while, I think since 2019, in the Reddit, /r ETH Finance, and before that /r ETH Trader, there's a daily thread on there where people can go in, they can discuss, daily price movements, project updates, things like that. And it's basically like, if I had to describe it, it's actually pretty similar to Twitter, where, you have people just like streaming out, their thoughts, and then, you have the replies under there from other people. So I guess, I used to spend a lot of time there back in 2017 or 2018 before Twitter became my main kind of go-to, but it is kind of like that. And what a user ended up doing was they were posting a haiku every day in the daily thread, and it kind of became like a ritual. It kind of became something that people really resonated with. It was quite cool. So what two other community members, Kite and Crocodile Man Chan, I think is his name, Man Chen, or I think that's how you say it. They have decided to put together this haiku book. So what this is, it's basically a collection of all of those haikus from the daily threads. I think there's over 200 of them, and they've put it into this Ethereum themed book here. So you can check out the physical book at thehaikubook.org. I'll link this in the YouTube description for you. It takes you to this website here. It's available on January 1st, 2020 for you to order via Amazon. And in addition to that, there will be a creator series NFT. So there'll be 3 NFTs kind of themed around the 3 creators. So you have the crocodile one. You can't really see it, I guess, on the video here. But there's a crocodile one, there's a kite one, and then there's like a serpent referencing the other person. I've forgotten the name now. I think here it is. Single State Serenity SSS. So I guess like a snake. To go with that theme there. But basically, this is really cool. I think there's a lot of Ethereum history that a lot of people maybe don't know about, and like little corners of different Ethereum communities that are really cool, not just on Reddit, but also on Twitter, of course, and a bunch of other places. So, I'm going to be ordering this on day one. I think this is going to be great. I'm gonna maybe try and get one of those creator series NFTs as well if I can, because they look really cool. But yeah, so go check this out. It'll be in the description. I highly recommend purchasing one, and if you want just, something, I guess, for your coffee table as well, right? And it's really cool because you can put it on your coffee table or somewhere in your house. You can have guests over and they'll ask, what's this? And you kind of get to talking about the haikus and Ethereum in general, and it's kind of a good conversation starter, I think, as well. And for me, I guess, and I guess for a lot of us in Ethereum, it's going to be some kind of memorabilia, because as I said, I was active in the ETH Trader and ETH Finance kind of daily threads back in the day. I guess not commenting, but like lurking a lot. And that was kind of a home for me before I kind of migrated to Twitter. So I think that, rings true for a lot of different people. So yeah, congrats to the guys for getting this out there. This is a really great effort to create a book out of these sorts of things. So yeah, looking forward to getting my copy. All right, biggest news of the last 24 hours. I'm sure you've all heard about it. We all knew it was coming. Coinbase announced that they have moved the XRP books to limit-only mode, and Coinbase plans to fully suspend trading of XRP on January 19th, 2021 at 10 a.m. PST. So that is less than a month away. I think it's about 3 weeks away now, where they'll suspend trading here. Now, there's been other dominoes falling over the past few days since the SEC's kind of announcement came out that they were suing Ripple and 2 of its executives. So, we've seen some big market makers pull out. We've seen other exchanges do delistings, but obviously Coinbase is the one that everyone was waiting for. Now that Coinbase has announced this, the rest of the exchanges are basically either going to delist XRP or bar US people from trading it, basically. I think they might go for the just bar US people from trading it route first, rather than kind of delist it outright, because it still generates a lot of volume and obviously a lot of fees for the exchanges. But Yeah, this is pretty big. I mean, everyone wants or everyone thinks XRP is probably going to go to zero now, and like the whole thing's going to come unraveled and everything. I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, as much as I actually think, and I'll straight up say it, I think that Ripple have got some really gross marketing. The way they kind of sell this stuff to people is disgusting. And in the report, it said that the two executives profited hundreds of millions of dollars over selling these XRP to the market. So they've obviously profited greatly from this. But what I actually think is going to happen is that they're going to go to court, or they're going to, settle, they're going to talk to the SEC with their lawyers, right? Because they can afford the best lawyers, using the proceeds from their alleged crimes, which is a whole nother thing. But anyway, so they're going to do that. They're going to talk it out. They might pay some ridiculous fine, right? And then, they might have to register it as a security or whatever. But then I don't think anyone's going to jail over this, for example, right? And I don't think this kills XRP. I think, maybe XRP has tighter regulations around it. Maybe it has to trade on places that can trade securities, all that sort of stuff. But I don't expect it to die. And you know what? I don't even expect Coinbase to have kind of like XRP delisted forever, right? They'll probably re-enable it if they ever get the go-ahead to do so. So I think, I mean, obviously I'm not a lawyer, and that's kind of like just not even a legal opinion. That's just kind of like my general opinion of what I think is going to happen. But we'll have to see how it plays out. These things can drag out for quite a while, but the fact that exchanges have suspended trading for XRP, I think will kind of light a fire under Ripple's kind of bottom, and basically get them to try and resolve this as quickly as possible, because they obviously want to restart selling this XRP that they still own into the market, and hopefully at a better price. Like the XRP price has come down greatly since its run up in November/December. And yeah, I checked it just before. It's down like 70% from its November peak in the bull market, right? Just against USD. Against ETH and BTC, it's down even more. Against BTC, I'm pretty sure it's close to its all-time low against BTC. So XRP has been around since 2013, and it's gone up a lot more than Bitcoin at times, but it's almost close to its all-time low. So and I personally, I do make jokes about this on Twitter a lot. And kind of, I guess you can view it as like celebrating that XRP is falling, and that might come across as a little bit ugly to people, because obviously there are people getting hurt from this, right? Where they put their money into XRP, and now after this announcement, they're down like a lot, right? Because XRP dumped, obviously. And I get that, but at the same time, I'm a big believer in taking responsibility for your own actions. If you're investing in this stuff, like even if you fall for like the marketing that gets put out there and stuff like that, I do believe that you're ultimately responsible for your own actions. And you shouldn't just go blaming everyone else and say, oh, it's, the SEC's fault that I've lost money. It's like, well, I mean, if you even paid any sort of attention to what the smartest people that I know of were saying, and like all, everyone else inside the kind of crypto community was saying, is that it was obvious that XRP was a security, like very obvious. You didn't need to be like a lawyer to know that. You didn't need to know securities laws, like back to front. You just, it was obvious. So, and unfortunately, a lot of people just don't see that as well. And that's why actually, when Coinbase listed XRP, I'm like, this is just really, really bad. They're basically leading lambs to a slaughter, where they kind of, they're the front door for these new investors to crypto. And a lot of the time, these new investors can't tell what's what because they haven't learned about it yet. But, because Ripple does so much marketing, right? And so much marketing, like you would not believe how much marketing they do. Like I dug into it. It's insane. And they are kind of like the first thing that a lot of people new to crypto learn about, and they'll kind of learn about XRP, and then they'll have this narrative of like it's going to be used by the banks, it's going to it's going to fix international wire transfers, all this sort of stuff, right? It's going to be a payments network, and it's pretty easy to fall into a hole once you get to that point. But again, all about personal responsibility. I mean, I mentioned yesterday how I got wrecked back in the day too. Like we've all been there. Again, when you're investing in these sorts of things, you shouldn't just put your life savings into this. I wouldn't even say you should put your life savings into anything, not just XRP, but like Bitcoin and Ethereum. You shouldn't do that either. That's just dumb on so many levels, right? That's just not a way to invest in general. So yeah, I guess like enough about that. There's plenty of other stuff to talk about today, but I think when looking at this stuff, I wouldn't call XRP dead, unfortunately. I think it's gonna be an interesting 2021 for Ripple and XRP, and we will see how that plays out. All right, so I mentioned yesterday that Cover Protocol, their token contract got exploited. Now, on yesterday's video, there was still kind of news coming out about this. It wasn't clear what actually happened, and there was a lot of, I guess, confusion, so I didn't dive deep into it. But a couple of hours after I published the video, everything pretty much came to light. So they put out a post-mortem here about what happened. So there was a bug in their code that basically, as they explain here, there was a line of their code that caused the updating of the balancer pool state to be ineffective of the miner state when depositing. This misalignment will cause the blacksmith, which is one of their smart contracts, to mint more rewards to the miner. This bug has been present, unknown to the devs, in the Cover Protocol blacksmith contract since the day it was deployed after being audited. So yeah, that's the bug basically, and that's what allowed someone to mint, like, I think it was like 60 quintillion or something Cover tokens, and then obviously dump that into the market while there was still liquidity for them to do so on Uniswap and things like that. So yeah, that's what happened with the bug there. Now, the funniest thing that came out of this was that the Cover Protocol exploiter, the person who did this exploit, after dumping all their cover for ETH, sent the ETH back to the team. So you can see here on the screenshot, it went from grap.finance, grap finance deployer, which was basically the contracts that the exploiter was using to kind of do this whole exploit. And then they sent it to yieldfarming.insurer deployer, which is the team's address. They sent 4,350 ETH, $3.1 million to that address. And they put, as you can see down the bottom here, a little message that they embedded into this transaction saying, next time, take care of your own shit. This is just, only in crypto, right? This is just so funny. Obviously not funny that people lost money here because they still lost money. The cover price tanked. It's like down 80% or something still. Exchanges suspended trading. Uniswap liquidity providers and on other, AMMs just pulled all their liquidity. So people have lost money here, like real money. And I feel for those people. But this is just like insane. And I don't know, I don't think this $3.1 million is enough to compensate for people who lost money. Either panic selling or selling because they thought everything was over, or being down in their investment and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if they're going to do like a buyback program here. They probably will, right, or something like that. But yeah, so that was crazy. I mean, that happened at like, what was it, 12:46 a.m. my time. I was in bed. I'm like, oh my god, what the hell? So, but again, we've seen some of this in the past with some hackers returning like half the funds that they've hacked and stuff like that. Like, I wonder if this is the same person. You never know with this sort of stuff. So there was that. If you want to read the whole timeline kind of events, it's in the post-mortem, which I'll have in the YouTube description for everyone. And Cover also announced that they're exploring providing a new Cover token through a snapshot before the minting exploit was abused. The ETH that has been returned by the attacker will also be handled through a snapshot to the LP token holders. We are still investigating. Do not buy Cover. All this sort of stuff, right? They're obviously in damage control here, and this is not the first time Cover /Safe. So it was originally called Safe Protocol or something like that, has been exploited. There's been multiple times that this has happened, and they've done multiple token migrations as well. So just not a great look, I guess, for Cover right now, unfortunately. But hopefully they get through it. Hopefully their community gets through it. The irony here is that they're an insurance protocol, right? Offering like on-chain insurance, and they got kind of hacked, and people are asking, who insures the insurers and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, a lot happening there, but yeah, interesting to see that the funds were returned. Good to see that it was returned, and we'll see that people can be made kind of whole from this. But I will definitely keep an eye on this and keep you guys updated with any new kind of updates that come out. So Kane from Synthetics put together a really great 2021 prediction thread today. So he's got a bunch of different tweets here in this thread, and I'll go through some of them, the ones that I thought were the most interesting. But basically, he starts off with saying that he believes that layer 2 migration and attempts to consolidate around a solution will take up most of the year. Fragmentation and forks will ensue across different scaling solutions. Basically, what a lot of VCs imagined happening in 2016, 2017, but their layer 1 bags will still end up worthless. So basically, yeah, I mean, I expect this to happen as well. We're entering, we kind of like in 2020, we went through the, delivering these layer 2s, and sidechain scaling solutions to the market for people to use, and in their finished state, or at least in the workable state, in a mainnet ready state. And now in 2021, we're going to see plenty of teams go live with their own implementations of this. Synthetics is already going to be doing that. Uniswap is rumored to be doing that. We already have existing solutions, right? Connects Network is another one that's working on interoperability between these things, which I think is very important. But we're going to have a bit of fragmentation going on, right? We're going to have some forks. We're going to have some drama. We're going to have it's going to be a little bit messy, because this is, migrating to layer 2 isn't as complex as migrating to another chain, but it is still a pretty monumental task. And, it only needs to be done kind of once. Once people are on layer 2 and familiar with it, once different projects are on it, it's going to be a lot easier, but it's something that needs to happen. Obviously, layer 1 is not scalable. Even in ETH2 with sharding, layer 1 is not going to be infinitely scalable. We still need layer 2, and that's kind of where we're going. So yeah, I agree with Kane here that that's what we're going to see. He goes on to say EIP 1559 will be a game changer for the Ethereum community. The wealth effect will dwarf that of Bitcoin, and since many ETH holders are builders, we see a mass proliferation of new projects as these gains are reinvested into the ecosystem. I mean, I totally agree with that. That's very succinctly put. I think that's a great prediction. He goes UX will improve massively. Yep, definitely agree with that. Another one here, he talks about the options space is going to get much more sophisticated and liquid. Totally agree. There's so many options projects coming out in 2021. I think there's 5 or 6 that I'm just thinking of right now. I'm going to talk about one in a sec, but yeah, basically that. He makes a joke here that Andre is going to launch 58 new projects and will eventually be revealed as a shape-shifting lizard person from Rylon 5, a race of super intelligent, Kaiman-like people seeking to bring enlightenment to lesser planets. I like that. He also says that he thinks we'll have a $150 million DeFi hack and the industry will survive. I mean, probably. I think that even if we had a $1 billion DeFi hack, the industry would still survive. But obviously that would be very bad. But as we've seen, hacks are kind of like very, I guess, frequent within DeFi, unfortunately. They've been smaller than... And I don't think there's been like a major hack in DeFi. They've been on the smaller variety, but they do happen quite frequently. And then, yeah, there's a bunch of other things in this thread, which I will link in the description. You can go check that out for yourself. So, Furo Kumba, I think that's how you say it, announced their token launch today. So, we're going to see a lot of these projects that haven't had tokens coming out with their tokens. They might retroactively airdrop it to their users. They're going to have liquidity mining programs. There's a lot of this coming in 2021. People are speculating on what projects are going to be doing this. I've spoken about it before. You just have to go down the list on DeFi Pulse, pick which project doesn't have a token yet, and speculate on them having a token sometime in the future. For those who don't know what this app is, it's basically, if I had to describe it, it's basically like a drag and drop DeFi Lego system. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to drag and drop different kind of DeFi interactions into an interface and execute the transactions all at once. So for example, you know how you see those flash loan kind of things happen all the time, especially with exploits where people borrow, a lot of money from DYDX or Aave, use it to do an exploit and then pay it back and, get some profits from that. So what this allows you to do is do that without kind of coding up your own kind of script or bot or anything like that. So you could drag in a flash loan. You can say, I want to flash loan this much ETH from Aave, right? I want to go transact it for this token. I want to sell this token on this other exchange and, do it all in one transaction, of course, and then, take the profits out from there. So I thought that was really cool, a really cool tool. I've used it before. Works quite well. But yeah, I mean, obviously any of these projects now are going to come out with a quote unquote governance token that's going to be able to generate fees as well. They mentioned that in the post here, that the fees generated on the flat platform are going to go to Combo token holders. At least I think they mention it. Unless maybe it was in a different blog post, because I remember they had another blog post where they were talking about the Combo token. And they're also going to be selling this via a Balancer LBP sale, which is a liquidity provider. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically, here we go, liquidity bootstrapping pool. That's right. It's designed to basically have like a price discovery for the token that's fair for everyone. So if you're interested in that, links in the description. You can go check that one out. All right, so as I was saying, options are going to be really, really hot in 2021. Now, this basically Primitive is one of those options platforms, and now they're live on mainnet, and basically 2021. I mean, it's almost 2021, right? And they've gone live with I think a wrapped ETH market first, and then they're going to be putting in a bunch of different markets here now. Options are very complex financial instruments that are typically used by traders and funds and things like that. They're not something that retail investors normally use, and I personally wouldn't suggest using them unless you were kind of like an expert and knew what you were doing here, because they are complex products. They are products that you can basically lose a lot of money on if you don't play the right game. And they're also products that allow you to make a lot of money if you do play the right game. So I think, I was listening to a podcast today actually from Uncommon Core. Hasu and Sue were talking to a fellow Australian actually about options and how they work and how the funds use them to trade and how traders use them and stuff like that. So I actually recommend going and listening to that podcast. Just Google Uncommon Core podcast and it's like the latest episode. But if you want to get like a better understanding of options, because it took me quite a while for it to click, and I'm not going to try and explain it here because I'm probably going to butcher the explanation. I'm not an expert on it. It's actually, you need to kind of like research it and like, kind of get it explained to you a few different times before you actually kind of clicks in your head. I mean, I learned the basics of options, and then I've learned about all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm not a trader. I'm gonna just like take it easy here. But this is one narrative to watch. So yeah, Primitive went live. They're really great. You can basically go and play around with it on primitive.finance, which if I was to load the tab, I might load my MetaMask addresses. I'm not going to do that. But basically, you can go check that out for yourself there. All right, speaking of predictions, I made a bunch of predictions at the start of 2020 here. You can see them here. So basically on January 16th, 2020, I said my belated 2020 predictions for Ethereum. So my first one was that ETH2 Phase 0 will have a strong launch. Now, I think that is true, right? We had like an extremely strong launch for the Beacon chain. We had the ETH deposited, the minimum ETH deposited in time, where we would launch on December 1st. The Beacon chain launched without a hitch. It basically got up to over 90% participation very, very quickly from validators, and now we're at like 98, 99%. The slashing is happening as it should on the Beacon chain, and everyone's pretty ecstatic about how well it's kind of gone. So. And these predictions were made in a kind of a different, I mean, I feel like a year ago is like a different world, right? I mean, almost a year ago. I think at the time, ETH2 was still like a pipe dream for a lot of people. They didn't realize just how close it was unless you were basically like on the ground, like to the metal. There was no dates or anything like that. People were saying, oh, it's going to come in a few months. Oh, it might come next year. And then there were doubts whether it would come in 2020. And it did, right? It came in December 1st, 2020. So that happened there. I then made my next prediction that total daily decentralized exchange volume would reach $1 billion USD. Now, let me give you some context for how I guess ambitious this prediction was. In January of 2020, the total amount of decentralized exchange volume was only 700 million for the entire month. So again, 700 million for the entire month, and at that time I was predicting that the daily decentralized exchange volume would reach 1 billion USD in 2020. So that's obviously a lot of growth there, and guess what? We reached it, and we've surpassed it. Basically, $1 billion days on DEXs are a frequent occurrence now. I think monthly we're doing over $20 billion. So 2 out of 3 of the month, 2/3 of the month is basically doing $1 billion of volume or more. Some days, they'll have more than others, but that's how, I guess, ambitious that prediction was at the start of the year. 700 million for the month to 20 billion for the month and 1 billion per day is crazy. I mean, I made that prediction thinking, this is insane, right? I don't know if this is going to happen. And I'm glad it did. So I'm pretty happy about that. That's my number one prediction that I made back then that I'm the most happy about, because that was my most ambitious one. And then next you have USD locked in DeFi. I said that it would exceed $5 billion. At the time of this, I think it was 800 million. So I actually didn't go too ambitious with this. And I don't know why, because we got to over 15 billion in DeFi. So I don't know why I was so conservative here, even though I was so ambitious with total daily DEX volume. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I just saw that DeFi was still so clunky, and it would still take a while for us to get to the point of like for the majority of DeFi outside of decentralized exchanges to get adoption. But what I didn't count on was the liquidity mining / yield farming craze. That was not a thing at the start of the year. That only became a thing in June of 2020. The closest thing we had to liquidity mining was synthetics. Doing their, like you could stake your SNX and earn SNX tokens. So I think that's why I was conservative there. Because at the time, like, you know, decentralized exchanges were small, but I knew Uniswap was such an amazing model that it would basically grow really, really quickly once enough people kind of learned about it and enough people kind of, needed to use it. And I guess at the same time, the reason it grew is because of DeFi, liquidity mining and yield farming and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess like I'll give myself that one as well. I mean, I got that one right, the USD locked in DeFi, but I'm a bit disappointed that I was so conservative at the time. I think for my 2021 predictions, I will be a lot more ambitious on that. All right, next prediction was that scaling and layer 2 tech would rapidly mature within 2020. I think that's true. I think it did. I mean, as I just explained when I was going over Kane's thread, we had a lot of layer 2 tech come to mainnet, and now it's just the adoption phase, which I think is going to happen in 2021. Spoiler alert, that's one of my predictions for 2021. But yeah, so I don't think there's much else to say on that one. And then the last prediction is actually something that I got wrong, and at the time I was like, okay, you know, if this happens, it's going to be a fluke. I know this is going to be wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case I'm right. Basically, I said that at least 20% of ETH and token transactions would be done privately. So, you know, in private transactions on Ethereum. This didn't happen, of course. I think we got more private transactions than we did last year in 2019, but definitely not 20%. I think this for a few reasons is because as much as people love to talk about privacy, it's a friction thing. Unless there's like a simple button that I can press that says send private transaction, you know, myself and many others and probably the majority are not going to do that. They're just going to send a normal transaction. On top of that, the privacy solutions didn't get much adoption in general. Tornado Cash, I think, had a lot of adoption, but they're not. I mean, Tornado Cash is a bit different in that it's a mixer. It's not like I'm sending someone a private ETH transaction. I'm sending ETH to Tornado Cash and it's mixing it for me and then sending it to a new address. But that's all kind of like, it is private to an extent, but it's not like what I would define as a private transaction of ETH or a token or whatever. So, but in saying that, this goes hand in hand with layer 2 adoption as well. So if we get a lot of layer 2 adoption in 2021, which by default has private transactions, for most of the solutions that I've seen, we should get that 20% of ETH and token transactions being done privately. We will see. Maybe I'll make that prediction again. I'll be right for 2021, but I definitely want to get some new ones out, which I'll be posting in the next few days. I won't go through them all now, but I mean, yeah, I'm going to scroll through the comments quickly. I think, yeah, I mean, validator.eth is actually an ETH bull here, and he said, I think a lot of people are really underestimating how much interest there is to get into phase 0 right from the beginning. And then I basically replied saying, yeah, the team's working on phase 0 at world class and really care about their work. They've been at it non-stop for many months now, and a lot of them are quite young and ambitious. Anyone betting against ETH2 is insane. I mean, I was extremely confident in my ETH2 prediction. Like, I was more confident in that than any of the other ones. So yeah, it was great to see that. And then there was some comments about price, I guess, and like one guy saying, wow, $5 billion in DeFi. So, you know, he was even surprised by that prediction, even though he blew past it. Funny thing here, when $1,000. I didn't make any price predictions here because that's incredibly hard to do, especially in January 2020, we were coming off that 2019 bear market. But I've been making more, I guess, like price predictions on Twitter lately, half shit posting, half serious. But I think in general, 2021 is going to be a good year for Ethereum, and not just the price of ETH, but Ethereum in general. So really looking forward to that. But that's it. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. If you haven't done so, give the video a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the Daily Gwei YouTube channel, subscribe to the Daily Gwei newsletter, and join the Discord if you haven't yet. And I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.